Hello, hello. So I wanted to begin with the quote this morning. And this quote comes from Patrick Harbula, who wrote Magic of the Soul. Spiritually focused people are moved to help others and to live in balance with nature and the natural laws of the universe. Since we are all one beyond the level of the physical plane, we help ourselves when we assist others. We assist others when we help ourselves. And at the level of soul, I am you and you are me. We are one in eternity. And I love that quote because I think sometimes that idea of oneness is a little bit challenging to fully understand. So the journey to freedom is really about coming, pardon me, to a place of acceptance, full on acceptance of ourselves, and a willingness to see that in others as well, that what I am, you are, and coming to that place of really bringing together those elements. Ernest Holmes wrote in The Science of Mind, real freedom means that we are created in the image of perfection and let alone and allowed to make the discovery for ourselves. Freedom of will means the ability to do, say, and think as we wish, to express life as we personally desire. Now, sometimes we don't do that. We'll sit back and we'll have those thoughts running. We're looking at creating harmony in relationships, and the thought that's running is, oh my gosh, why do they keep doing that? Why don't they stop it? I remember when they did this. And that thought that is running, we have power over that thought. But we sometimes let it run, almost like it has a life of its own. The thing is that that thought is very creative and very powerful. That thought is creating something, but not necessarily what we might be looking for. Ernest Holmes went on to say, we are bound by our very freedom. Our free will binds us. The universe, being deductive only, cannot refuse us anything. So when we're sitting back going, oh, my relationships are harmonious, or, oh, I'm abundantly supplied, and, oh, my work is joyous and fabulous. When we're saying these things, that's wonderful. However, if what's running in the background here, we have another thought that goes, yeah, right. What were you thinking? That's not how it is. Remember this, remember that. Or we're holding a resentment from someone in our life. Maybe somebody 20, 30, 40 years ago said or did something that hurt us. And so all of a sudden we remember it. Maybe we see the person or we get told something about them and how well they're doing. And immediately that little wheel starts to turn and we're thinking about how we were treated badly or whatever. So we have used our free will to choose a thought and a series of thoughts that actually keep us bound, that keep us miserable. And our freedom, that journey to freedom, is about changing our thinking and opening ourselves up to fully realize the potential that we are. Ernest Holmes went on to say, the very force that makes us sick can heal us. Once we realize our oneness with creative mind, we are released from the bondage of false thinking. We see too that freedom means liberty, but not license. The seed of freedom has been planted deep within each and every one of us, and it's up to us to discover it. When Ernest Holmes was writing these words, I think he probably had a really deep sense of how thoughts create and how we begin to move through life based on the thinking patterns that we have. We might be thinking along the lines of, somebody did this to me and it's not fair. Anybody ever think it's not fair? I heard somebody say once, that's right, it's not fair, but it is fair because it's not fair for everybody. Like we all have that moment where life is not fair. When I think about the garden, and we've talked about the garden before, we plant a seed in the garden and then the seed sprouts and starts to grow. But we can go out and dig it up and go, that's not what I wanted. Dig it up, toss it, and plant something else. And it's the same thing in our mind. We can be looking at the stories we're telling ourselves, the way we're thinking about other people or life in general, or what the politicians are doing, or what happened in the election. And we're having all these thoughts running around. And as we ruminate on those, we begin to create a vibration and energy that draws to us a matching energy and vibration. So we are, in fact, creating the life that we're living. Ernest Holmes went on to say, there is a law in the universe which operates in a certain way to the tendency set in motion and does so mathematically. We cannot destroy the law, but we can redirect its movement. So when we catch ourselves thinking, oh man, this is terrible, what we're doing is we're anchoring an idea. And if it's something that we hold near and dear to us and believe, then that is anchoring it really closely in our lives. And we begin to reproduce over and over again that same experience. We want to begin to change it. And the way we do that is to change the way we're thinking. We just as we plant seeds and later decide we wish something else, we go out and uproot the first seeds and plant others. We are not thereby destroying the soil. So when we have an idea and then we go, oh no, I don't want to be thinking that, and we get rid of it, we haven't destroyed anything in that creative medium. But what we have done is redirected the energy and maybe redirected it into the place that we want it to go. What is it we truly desire? Gotta have a sip. When we're dealing with subjectivity, we're always dealing with that which is subject to the conscious volition. So that means any idea that's running around, I have the ability to change it. I have the ability to change it. You have the ability to change it. True nature of infinite potential, and now the impossible becomes I'm possible. I love that. Split the word. I'm possible. And then miracles begin to unfold. This journey that we're on of trying to find our freedom, or trying to find our voice, or to figure out what it is we truly want in life, one of the places that's easiest to start is to look at what you don't want. Now, you don't want to live there. Don't move in and take up residence. But what is it that you don't want? Maybe you don't want to be sad anymore. Maybe you don't want to be financially limited. Maybe you don't want to have relationships that keep blowing up. So what you want to do is take a look at that and then ask yourself, what is the opposite of this? You know, if I'm saying constantly, I'm poor, I'm broke, I have no money, that is the energy that is fueling the substance in my life. But if I switch it and go, wait a minute, no, what's the opposite of that? The opposite would be wealth and well-being. The opposite would be possibility. The opposite would be, yes, I can do this. There's good in the universe and I'm using it. Let me direct it to the way I want. So I'm affluent, I'm abundant. Life supports me in all ways. And we begin to change the story. The thing is that sometimes when we start doing those affirmations, we still don't see results. I know I've had that experience. And what that's suggesting to us is that there's something deep down in the subjective that is still holding us. And so we want to figure out where we're at, and we have to start where we're at. You can't start somewhere else. It has to be right here. And sometimes we don't want to look at the pain that we're in. We don't want to look at the energy that's holding us back because it's uncomfortable. So instead, we begin to think about a better future, and we're trying to put ourselves out there. But the only way we can get there is to start here. And so this journey to freedom is really about releasing negativity, releasing our judgment and criticism. And it's not to say, I can't have a bad day or I can't feel bad. It's about feeling it and allowing it to move, allowing yourself to have those thoughts, but put a timeline on it. I interviewed a woman a little while ago who is living with MS, and she talked about her journey. And, you know, she said, like, when she went blind, it's like she gave herself 24 hours. Okay, I get to be in my pity party for 24 hours. And then at the end of that, done. Now what? How am I going to do this? And when she woke up one day and couldn't walk, well, let me have my pity party, because we do have that. We have moments where we get a diagnosis or something's going on, and we have that moment of sadness or regret or upset or whatever it might be. But then from there, we have the choice to go, okay, I let myself feel it. And now what? What is the opposite of this? What is the opposite of my distress? And when we start to acknowledge that there is a power within us that's infinite, that is powerful, that is intelligent, and we begin to operate from there, we free ourselves from all of the insanity of, running that story, that loop in our minds. It takes some work to do that. It's truly an easy thing to swap out one thought for another. It's like putting a new CD in your CD drive, right? Take one out, put one in. And we can do the same things with our thoughts. It's a little harder with our thoughts, though, because a lot of them were put in or given to us when we were very, very young. And so as young children, we are very impressionable and people are telling us things. And the things that they're telling, we're like a sponge and we're just soaking it all up. Well, all of that is with us today. What we were told at 6 months old, at 1 year old, at 2 years old, at 5 years old, all of that is still there. Now, the information we received did come from very well-meaning people, guaranteed. But is it something that I believe personally today? And is it something that serves my life? So we want to sit back and really pay attention to the ideas that are being presented to us and the way we view them. And when we look at our life and we see an area that's a bit off, or we see an area that's not working for us, instead of resisting it, instead of trying to make it go away, explore it. Be curious. Wow, why would I believe that? That idea of I'm not enough. I don't know if any of you have ever felt, I'm not enough, that, I'm a bit, that imposter syndrome. I get a new job and then, oh man, how do I do this? Or I get a new relationship and, those old relationships kind of pop up and go, oh, what if it's like this? And so we begin to run those old stories. And what we want to do is take the time to feel the pain of them, but allow it to move out of us. And we can do it a few different ways. One of them is journaling. I like to write it out. I'll sit down with pen and paper. I don't do it on my computer. It's pen and paper. And I'll write out what I'm feeling. And I'll allow myself to voice the anger or the frustration or the annoyance or the criticism, judgment. I'll allow it to come out on paper. And I remember one day when I was in a particularly dark place, I was studying for ministry at the time, and life was really challenging at the moment. And I sat down one day and I'm writing in my journal, and I'm so angry. I was so distraught that I'm writing so hard, I'm tearing the paper with the pen. And so I write pages and pages and pages of notes. When I finish, I feel a sense of relief. It's out of me. I go to bed. I wake up in the morning and I took a look at those pages and I started to read it and I went, no, this is not who I am. And I went and I burned it. And as it burned and left, I felt a real kind of catharsis that, yes, something in me had shifted. And whatever that was had then been released. That doesn't mean every problem is gone, kaput, but that idea of, self-loathing, because that's what it was, that was gone. And that's a really important piece. Some of us sit back and we resist those feelings, those ideas, those thoughts. We've been told things as children: don't do this, don't do that, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that, this is bad, that's wrong. And we begin to allow that to become our model of life and living. But there's no freedom in that. That's oppression. And we're doing it to ourselves, because as adults, we no longer have or depending on our age, we may or may not have parents who are still giving us input on how we live and what we do. But it's different now, because as adults, we can choose. We can choose to think in a new way. We can choose to do a meditation to quiet the mind. We can do breath work to sit back and, sometimes things happen and we begin to feel a bit panicked, and that panic attack is starting and the anxiety is rolling. And we can sit back and go, now what? I noticed, well, the election was happening on the Tuesday and I was feeling anxiety. What's going to happen? And then I thought, leave the room. Leave the room. You'll know tomorrow what's going on, but leave the room. If this is causing anxiety, turn it off or walk away. And then sit with, why is it causing me anxiety? What am I afraid of? And then go back into that exploration of our faith. You know, we talk about there being one power. One power. And then we pretend there's 2 or 3 or 5 or 6. There's all this stuff coming, bombarding us, and all of it has power. No, it doesn't. There's one thing, and we all are a part of it. We all live, move, and have our being in it. And as we can begin to go, wait a minute, I'm possible. Let me change my phrasing. Let me begin to see the potential that I have because I am created in a way that allows me to live a very unique life. And so does everyone else have that same potential. So we look at each other, and sometimes we'll judge each other for the way we dress or how we speak or the way we look. Or no. Every single person, every single thing going on is a part of this perfection. And as we judge it and criticize it and loathe it or feel ashamed of it, all we're doing is inhibiting our own self from living to our full potential. That's it. So in the moment that we relax and go, wait a minute, here I am, now what? Okay, here I am. Whew. Well, I got a stack of bills that I can't pay at the moment. All right, that's the fact. How do you feel about that? Well, scared. Okay. Sit in the fear, sit in the scared place for a moment or an hour. And then look at it and go, what am I afraid of? It can't kill me. Not likely anyway. It's just bills. And when we're caught up in focusing our attention on those unpaid bills, what happens is we eliminate the possibility for us to think about something new and powerful and positive. A new idea that's wanting to birth can't come through because the focus is in the wrong place. If we have, a relationship that isn't working and we're in our mind going, oh, I can't believe they did this and I can't believe they did that. And why are they always doing this? We're not talking to them, right? We're just doing this in our mind. And we're allowing ourselves to bind ourselves to a story that isn't necessarily true, but it's a story that is running our lives. It's a story that's moving us in a direction that probably isn't particularly healthy and may, in fact, end that relationship. But here's the thing, wherever I go, there I am. So if we're running away from a relationship because we don't like the way that person acts, and we haven't dealt with how we feel, then what happens is we have a new relationship. And what happens in that relationship? We bring ourselves wherever we go. If I've been doing prosperity treatments and all of a sudden a pile of money drops in my lap, but I'm still thinking about, can I afford to pay those bills? Well, let me hold on to this. I begin to hoard or whatever. And again, I'm in a position where now I can't move forward. I can't create something new. I'm bound by the thinking of lack and limitation. I'm bound by thinking of judgment and criticism and everybody's wrong and I'm right. I'm bound by these things and they impact my life. But here's the thing. There's only one thing going on and we're all a part of it. So when I am bound, I actually bring down the energy of all of life. And when I experience that freedom, get up, move your feet. When I get into that excitement, into that joy, all of a sudden there's an uplifting. Now, as I uplift, as I improve how I feel, as I begin to live in a more excited and curious and imaginative and loving state, then what happens is I'm lifting the collective as well. Now, it might be minute, my one person to the 8 billion, but it matters. It matters. So each one of us does matter. And so we move through this journey of life going, I don't know what to do next. Isn't that true sometimes? I just don't know. And what do we tell ourselves? I don't know. What if instead we went, now what? In kind of wonder and curiosity. When we know that our words have power and our words are either creative freedom or binding us to some sort of difficulty, what we want to do is acknowledge those words and let's stop saying, I don't know, and instead go, something's coming. Now what? A new adventure, a new idea, a new excitement. We begin to move our energy in a way that begins to draw into us or expand around us greater potential that actually we go, oh, that's it there. That feels right. That feels good. And we begin to move ourselves toward something brighter, something really beautiful. We have the power to do that. And we don't want to use spiritual bypass. We don't want to go, oh, I feel bad. Let me just lock it down and do a treatment. Let me lock it down and say an affirmation. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. Because as you lock that down, there comes a moment when that pressure cooker is going to release. And believe me, it will not be pretty. And I know that from experience. So we have an opportunity here, an opportunity to really get excited about life, an opportunity to get excited about each other and to learn. I met a gentleman yesterday. I was at an event for the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation. And I met this gentleman who was in this, he calls himself Daddy Disco. And he's wearing full sequins outfit. And, like it was a retro party, right? And these great shoes with platforms and high heels and had his hair done cool and he's wearing like a chain around his neck. And it was just very, very cool. And just watching him interacting with everybody and dancing and doing the things he was doing, it was really fun. And so we sat and talked for a little while. And, he's got some health challenges, but the joy that he exudes and the way that he shared what he does and why he does it was truly, truly inspiring. And I felt uplifted and joyful just watching this individual be who they are. I don't know their real name. I just know that it's Daddy Disco. And it was so much fun, even all around the event, watching this fundraising event and watching how people were interacting, watching the joy on people's faces as different ones came in and, showed off the costume that they were wearing. There was just a lot of fun and a lot of food and a lot of joy in this space. Now, many of these people are struggling with all sorts of different things in their lives as new immigrants, or even as people who've been here a long time. But the journey is one of sweetness and joy and love when that's where our attention is focused. So I invite you to look at your life and not with a critical eye, but in observation, with a curiosity, and look at the things that are working really, really well. And then look at the things that maybe are challenging you. They're not bad. They just are. It is what it is. And we need to learn how to love it all. Now, love does not necessarily mean, emotion or whatever. Love is something different. Let me just see what Ernest Holmes says about love. The thing is that when we think about love, we think about that emotional state of our relationship and our family and the people that we're connected to. But what if it's something a little bit different? And I love how Ernest Holmes describes it. Love is the self-givingness of the spirit through the desire of life to expose itself in terms of creation. Like, wow, the self-givingness of spirit. It's like we're a part of this universe, and it is our source, our life source. And as we begin to acknowledge that and have faith in that and begin to live from that awareness, that I of myself create, co-create with this abundant universe, not separate from or different than, but together. And it is in that togetherness as we begin to collaborate, as we begin to share ideas, as we begin to become curious about each other, we start to see a movement that allows for growth, for peace, for possibility. That's what I'm seeking. More joy in our world, more potential realized. And it's up to us to do that. Ernest Holmes says, when we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. We must learn to come under the divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled. Never was there a cosmic famine. Cosmic famine. There you go. Absolutely. We live in this energy, this vibration that is all giving. The only thing the universe can ever do is say yes to whatever we plant. The seed we plant, the idea we plant, the universe says yes. But if we say no, it will not manifest. We can block it and stop it with our conscious thought, or we can be saying affirmations and our subjective is going, yeah, no, I'm a loser. That's what I've been telling myself my whole life. And all of a sudden that becomes what's creating. I invite you to look in the mirror and fall in love. Look in the mirror and see who you really are and allow that true person, the true person of you, the one you know you are, begin to let that out. Share it widely, loudly, playfully, lovingly. Everywhere you go, no matter what. I met a woman in the pet store the other day, and she was talking about how when she left the house that day, she decided to leave it as her soul self. And as she went out, she saw this beautiful rainbow, which she took pictures of and shared with me in the store. And then she turned around and she was talking about, oh, you might think I'm weird, but I study metaphysics. And I went, yeah, me too. And, like, we draw it to us. I invite you to be who you are. Drop into that soul self. Catch the criticisms and negativity, the words that go, I can't, I don't know, I'll try, maybe. Let's take those out of our vocabulary and begin to be more honest with ourselves. Wow, now what? Can't wait to see what's coming next. I know it'll be good. It's got to be. Because this universe is a place of potential possibility. It is a vibration of light, and it's always positive. And I have free will to live in that understanding if I so choose. If I so choose. You see, it is up to us. Meditation, prayer treatments, journaling. Get it out and then destroy it and go, no, that's not me. And free yourself from all of those tight bands that are holding you. Join with me in consciousness. As I breathe into this moment, I feel the vibration. I feel my oneness with spirit. I acknowledge this divinity, this grace. I acknowledge that this power in the universe is infinite, eternal, ever-present, creative, intelligent, and that regardless of what's happening in my life, I am in this. And it is working for my good. The inspiration I receive, the desires that pop up from within, come from the absolute. There's a peace and a freedom that fills my mind and my heart and my soul as I allow myself to acknowledge the power of my words, the attitudes that I choose to live with, the energy that I choose to promote or put out. I allow myself to see me, to see me. And if I note a place that could use a little tweak or a little correction, I do it with love, with grace, with gladness. This journey of life and living is really glorious. And as we allow ourselves to really get up on our feet, to get up out of that chair and to move the body and play in the world and in the universe, as we begin to allow ourselves to free that locked up, tired, fearful self, let it go. Take the chains off. Today, I allow that freedom to be realized. Today, I allow myself to accept, to acknowledge, to allow that I am enough. In fact, I am perfect, whole, and complete like everybody else. I am unique and special, created by this source, this infinite intelligent source. Unique and special like everybody else. And so in my place of curiosity and possibility, in that place of I'm possible, I look around me and I see beauty, grace, and goodness everywhere I look. Every face I see the goodness of this divine light. This journey is an exquisite, exquisite healing journey. It's not about becoming spiritual. We are spiritual beings. What we're becoming is human. Accepting the humanness from the divine, allowing ourselves to celebrate that human experience that appears so difficult at times, but to acknowledge the difficulty is only an idea in mind. And if I change the thought, I change the experience. I am powerful. You are powerful. It is in acknowledging this, I'm filled with gratitude. I'm filled with a sense of grace as I just know my place in all of it. And I choose to live to my highest potential. With gratitude and grace, I release these ideas into the law of mind. It is done, and all is well.